Welcome to Independent Voice. I am Mami. Today, we're going to talk about an issue millions and millions of Americans are thinking about. A pertinent date, November 1st. And government shutdown. What does it mean for this country to step into November 1st as we are currently experiencing government shutdown? As we all know, government shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass a budget. When a budget is not approved, essential services are slowed down significantly or at times, in some cases, completely halted. When essential services are reduced or halted, it impacts employees. They will experience what we call furlough. They work without payment. Temporary fundings and some non-essential government services are also impacted. Come November 1st, an essential service or government program will be impacted significantly. Many citizens have been voicing their concern about it. And the service that I'm talking about is SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. About 40 million Americans are recipients of SNAP services. Services like SNAP usually continues during a shutdown temporarily. But when the shutdown continues, or it goes on for longer periods of time, like it did this time, then it will be impacted. New issuance will not be issued to recipients. Therefore, the importance of November 1st. 40 million Americans are anticipating not to see their monies for the month. SNAP is focused on food service. 40 million Americans are at risk of losing benefits that would allow them to have food in their homes for their families. Another such program that will be impacted in November 1st is also WIC, which is also a supplemental support to mothers of young children. 7 million Americans will be at risk of losing their WIC benefit. As we think about the 40 million Americans that do receive SNAP services, on top of that, the 7 million Americans that depend on WIC to provide nutrition to their children, low-income families will be impacted. Single mothers will be impacted. People that live paycheck to paycheck, the working poor, will be impacted. People with disabilities will be impacted. In the world's richest nation, hunger becomes a policy side effect. Let me say that again. In the world's richest, most powerful nation, food becomes a negotiation chip. Just hours ago, as I was preparing to record this video, the Senate voted 51 to 47 to strip down the National Tariff Emergency Act that was enacted as of, I believe, April of this year. And as I speak, the House is in session. Once again, in the most richest, most powerful country, food, the most basic thing humanity should have, has become a policy side effect, a bargaining chip. Fact. I've been in government for almost 3 decades. I know what it means to have that peace of mind that at the end of the day there will be food at the dinner table, and to not be able to at least have that much peace of mind. It is mind-boggling. It's mind-numbing. I say it has become a bargaining chip because while we're waiting on whether or not food is going to be available to 40 million families The Senate just got to work on tariff. A whole lot larger issue. I'm not minimizing the importance of it. In the long run, it has a long-term impact and it needs to be addressed. So I'm just saying, I'm going out on a limb and saying it has become a bargaining chip in order for the government to do what it needs to do. It just appears to me, it feels as though we're holding food as a bargaining chip. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of today or the end of tomorrow, the shutdown will cease. The government will reopen. And those poor government people will be running around to try and get to everybody as much as they can. It would not surprise me if this shutdown ends by the end of today or end of tomorrow, because the chips are falling where they may. Negotiations are occurring, but not the way you and I think. Food, essential services, that is what we're bargaining with. Policy versus the basic needs. Trades and tariffs are important. The entire world is feeling its impact. Everybody's talking about it. But feeding families should not come second. Should not come second. Senate, the House, should be on it, working around the clock to ensure that families are not going to be out of the basic needs. We're watching global economy being prioritized over domestic survival, over the survival of families, over the bread and butter families need. Tell me it isn't politics. Tell me it's not being used as a bargaining chip. The structure, the Senate, the House, does not have a whole lot of bandwidth. They just do not have that much political bandwidth in order for them to prioritize in the way that you and I, as the people, think they ought to. Because there are way too many political bargaining they have to do. There is way too many things that they need to negotiate. Tell me it isn't politics. Better yet, ask me and I'll tell you. They have tried, and they have been in sessions to try and negotiate the reopening of the government itself. Well, they have achieved something. The Senate voted 51-47. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. They reached a decision. We still have not made a decision whether or not we were going to feed 40 million Americans that depend on the SNAP program. The way the economy has been, the way the inflation has been, tell me to try and take that away in addition to what is already difficult economic season. Tell me it's not politics and I'll believe you. Better yet, ask me this isn't politics and I'll tell you. I have been in government for many years. I am very familiar with these programs. I know what they mean and I know how it gets processed. Now, are there some loopholes? Yes. Are there some issues that we're witnessing that needs to be corrected and managed better? Absolutely. And hopefully in the near future, maybe I'll have the opportunity to talk a little bit more openly about it. But I'm telling you, I was one of those people who actually worked with the programs. I know what it means to people. And I don't necessarily understand how it got to be where it's at today, because it hasn't been like this. I cannot tell you at what point this program has evolved to the point where it's at, and I'm not here to talk about that. But I will tell you this. It puts food at the table. People depend on it. Families depend on it. Whether or not some people misuse it, I couldn't tell you no. They do. Do we need to fix the system? I believe so. But to actually intertwine essential services, programs like SNAP and WIC, as a bargaining chip for political agenda is beyond mind-boggling. Beyond mind-boggling. We ought to come up with a better strategy, better way of fixing the system. Is the system broken? 100%. I couldn't tell you that it isn't. Is it perfect? No, it is not. Is this how we go about it? Probably not. I'm not siding. I'm not taking any side of any political party at this point. I'm just thinking about the people I worked with, the families I've supported over so many years. Let alone for those who could not even afford to have their basic needs met, so they had to depend on government. The working poor is struggling. Have you gone to grocery stores lately? So what exactly are we saying? It's not just the essential programs, the supportive services, the so-called SNAP welfare systems that are broken. The system in general is broken. Where is the priority? So we're using something hostage to get what we want. From the looks of it, that's how it comes across. We're bargaining for what we want at the cost of anything. That is why I'm saying it is mind-numbing. Here's another thing that kind of dawned on me, and the reason why I started saying I am an immigrant, I am from Africa, and we have been talking about Africa-US foreign policies, African-US foreign relations, and anything related to that. It wouldn't be far-fetched for me to say the US is the police of every other country, is it not? In terms of, especially in terms of human rights. We are the strongest human rights advocates, aren't we? As people, as government, we are. We make other countries accountable to their actions. We hold them very close to the fire in terms of sanctioning them, in terms of policies. We hold, as a country, other people, other countries accountable to complying with human rights. In general speaking, in a very broad stroke of defining human rights, I believe one's right to have one's basic need met is part of human rights. It is part of human rights. Being able to eat and not go hungry. Being able to feed one's family, especially in a country like the US. I believe it is part of one's human right. Basic needs. Basic needs. People are on government assistance because they have a need to have their basic needs met. So the question is, who's holding the US accountable? Who brings the US close to any fire? Who holds this government accountable? Are we not getting close to violating somebody's human or basic rights when we use something like food as a negotiating chip for political gain, to bringing not an agreement, not a negotiation, not in dialogue, not in any of that, but to force something to one's agenda at the cost of somebody's human right, basic right? Is that not an issue? Are we not violating anybody's human right at this point? I know it's a very broad stroke, very broad comparison I'm making. But when a government says, we're going to shut down and I don't know what it is you're going to do in order for you to feed yourself and your families. Different states are coming up with different strategies already. Government employees are already being furloughed. They are already being asked to work without payment. On top of that, they're also being asked to be kind enough to donate something, because there are people worse off still. Even if they're working however many days without payment, and it does take away from what it is that they're able to do for their family, they're also being asked if they can contribute, because people are going to face hardship come November 1st. Something tells me, if not the end of today, end of tomorrow, probably most likely the shutdown will end. It looks like somebody's getting what they want after all. At least to some degree, if not completely, a partial opening probably would appear, and you heard me say this. Yeah, because this is how politics work, right? Let me get back to my point. So who holds the US accountable? Who holds the US accountable? Technically, in reality, obviously, the people. This government is accountable to the people. The people should hold this administration, the system itself, the government. And I'm not referring to any political affiliation at this point. I'm just saying, as a system of a government, the people should hold their government accountable. And I'm not talking about inciting violence and taking sides in pointing fingers to this party or that party. I'm just saying, government, any kind of government, any type of government in general, is accountable to its people. And the people ought to hold their government accountable. And how do we do that? Good question. How do we do that? I hope to God every single American that is alive today will remember, when we go to cast our votes, that we be very smart, very careful. Not about the political rhetoric, but the facts. Not based off of the political campaigns. Not because of what I just want and what works for me, but the future of the country. But the future of your child, my child, and everybody else's child. That's when the people are going to hold the government accountable. When Congress fails or is unable to fund essential services, programs like SNAP and WIC that puts food on somebody's table, accountability fails, not just in theory, but in action. Action that impacts the lives of families who depends on those services. Because as the structure is laid out, Congress oversights those decisions. The political nature of the government is overshadowing the main purpose of it being named government. To govern, not to politicize. Politics isn't everything. But it becomes an issue for me when politics overshadows governing. When we're politicking and not governing, there is a problem. I say these things very carefully because I have been in government way too long. I've seen things. I know things. I know how the government works, and I am a student of public administration, so I'm just not saying these things without having to give it a thought. Politics happens. But when it becomes the single factor that drives decision, then the country is in trouble. We as the people are then in trouble. When it becomes the thing, the only thing that drives governing, then we're in trouble. It's time to sit back, step back, and take a look at where we started, where we're going, and where we kind of went sideways. Just hours ago, a decision was made related to tariff. And don't get me wrong, I think it's a good decision that some level of agreement, some kind of decision is being made. Everybody has an opinion about that. It's neither here nor there for me right now in this video. I would love to talk about the impact of the global tariff. I do actually have a video because I do talk a lot about how things that happen here impacts Africa. So I did have a video and I talked about what it actually meant imposing a 10% or more tariff on a country like Ethiopia that just went through 4 years of war. What exactly does that mean? How many jobs have been lost and what it means? I actually talked about how this inverse or reverse immigration will impact this country. As much as this country is trying to tighten up the immigration situation, and you make it so difficult for countries like African countries, certain countries that are trying to make their own country a better place to stay so that their own citizens are not risking their lives to jump ship. Make it so difficult for them to try and grow, to try and overcome their own challenges and show their own citizens they can stay and live and have a happy life in their own country. I call that a reverse immigration. I talked a lot about that. I've actually sent letters to certain people. If you really, really want to kind of tame what's happening as far as the border crossing, the one thing you want to do is help these countries to maintain their own integrity, to be able to grow their own economy, so that people are not looking out. People are not jumping ship. They're not going over the fence. They're not coming through those waters and losing their lives. So make it difficult for them. Then they're going to try, do whatever it takes in hopes of a better life. Let me just set that aside for a minute and get back to the point. A decision was made. And I believe right now, as we speak, the House is in session. I will say this again, it would not surprise me if government shutdown ends totally or at least partially, because apparently certain chips are falling certain places when Congress fails to support and to fund essential services like SNAP and WIC. We're just not talking about failure in theory, but failure in action. We're taking away food from families, those that depend on government. Who's protecting the interest of people? Who's looking out for the actual implication of what it means? I'm telling you right now, today, in this video, the United States of America matters first for any politics. We keep talking about politics, we're gonna see some more fallouts. We're all about politics. It is what it is. It's just going to continue to be about politics. It removes the human aspect of things. It opens up doors for interpretations, for political interest groups that don't mind investing into their interests. Right? It becomes about Big Pharma doing what Big Pharma does. It becomes about you and I paying for medical care to the point where you're having to decide which is more important. Do I eat today or do I go to the emergency room? Do I go and get medical services or do I feed my family? We're having to put ourselves in places where we make such difficult decisions. How? That's why I'm saying we need to get away from just being all about politics. It's not about the right, it's not about the left. That's not going to go away. What I am saying today is we all need to focus on making sure that this country stands. There's so much that can be done. There is so much that can be said, but today's video really is about, so who holds this country accountable? The US is the watchdog of everybody else. The US has the power to sanction countries, to pressure countries, to go to war, to do all different things. So when this country fails to feed its own people, so who does this government respond to? Where is the accountability? I get it. I just said the people. Its citizens. The government is supposed to be accountable to its citizens. But above that, apparently the citizens will have to wait until there is time to vote, and maybe through elections there might be some things that can be done, and I hope that is the case. But who really comes up to say, hey, this is wrong? This is a violation of somebody's human right, because you cannot take away somebody's ability to eat It's just the basic needs. Once again, I'm going to qualify this by saying I'm making a broad stroke of comparison. I get it. But I'm just saying, when the US does something like this, to the point where they can't govern their own citizens, their own people, and they shut down government, including essential services, who steps up to say, hey, courts have the ability to stop certain actions? And we've seen that in some cases. But the irony of it is that even the court system is getting all political about certain things. Even the court system is getting entangled with politics. It's supposed to be so neutral, yet the court system has been so infiltrated with political agenda. My point in making this video today, come November 1st, unless otherwise, as I predict, something changes by the end of today or tomorrow, come November 1st, people stand, 40 million Americans stand to lose their SNAP benefits. I'm just coming from a place where I thought we're very, very strong in making sure that we're advocating, we're taking actions, we're making statements about human rights violations. And I'm not comparing war with this, but let me tell you, keep at it and then see where it goes. Keep at it and see what happens. Keep at it. You come with people's food, it becomes survival. It does become survival. So, just a thought. Just a thought. Coming from hearing statement after statement, sanction after sanction, having to fight about, well, a country is a country. A country's sovereignty is not up for negotiation. You can't just cut apart a country into different pieces just because. We've been saying that for the longest time, and here we are. This country is being divided. This country is polarized right now. It is polarized right now. And I'm just saying, are we holding certain things as a bargaining chip? Is this not somewhat, in the broadest way, violation of somebody's human right, because we're taking away their basic needs? There's a reason why somebody is dependent on those programs. Allow me to make a statement, please. I'm a very small, tiny voice, maybe in the grand scheme of things, but I'm making a statement. Basic needs is not a bargaining chip, cannot be held as a bargaining chip. I'm calling it out. I will say this. Government shutdown probably will end either today or tomorrow. I have no internal information. I'm just saying things are falling where they might be, so that at least certain things can go on. And I am hoping, and I am very optimistic when I say, let go of the food. Don't let people go hungry. You will see other things coming your way. We've seen hunger. We've seen hungry people. And I'm not saying overnight people are going to go hungry. Have you seen the lines forming outside of food banks? Food banks are already short in supplies. I don't know a whole lot of people that have so much more to say, here, I don't need it, you can take it. Everybody is in need because things are scarce. Everybody's in need. The point I'm trying to make is, as much as this country has the tendency to be the police of everybody else, and since we praise ourselves as the champion of human rights, I like to see human rights being respected as of right now. I like to see human rights being complied to. We're going to be, as a country, totally outside of what we preach about human rights. It is so ironic that I find myself sitting here and thinking about, the one country that tries to punish and ensures that human right is respected at every corner of the world, we're getting ready to take away food from families. What's next? And I say this because I want us as the people of this country to start delineating between politics and governance. Governance is governance, politics is politics. We cannot continue as a country to politicking and not governing. Governing is different than always politicking. Right now, politics is taking over governance. It is not lack of knowledge, it is not lack of ability, it is not lack of funding, it's not because the money is not there, the funding isn't available that government has shut down and 40 million people are about to lose their benefits. It is not that. It's never that. Tell me it's not politics and I'll believe you. Ask me it's not politics and I'll tell you it is. We've got to clean house first before we start pointing fingers and feeling so powerful about ourselves. I think we put a clean cut, some kind of delineation between politics and governance. They go hand in hand, yes. Are they sort of mixed together and it's hard to totally separate and split? Yes. But certain things must be done in order to say, here is where we draw politicking and now we're governing. And right now what we need is governing. Right now, what we need is governing. Somebody needs to pull the plug and say, enough. Enough. Enough with the politicking, and we just need to shift into governance. Some people need to come right up and say, you know what? We've been so entangled in the political arena. Let's get out of it and step into what we were put in place for, which is to govern, to make a decision on behalf of the people. We cannot continue to turn everything into politics. We can't. That's not how we win. That's not how we move forward. That's not how we're going to salvage anything at all if we're going to see this country remain powerful. Politicking is just not working. So tell me it's not politics and I'll believe you. But I will tell you it is politics. Thank you. I look forward to your comments and your feedback. Whether or not you think what's happening really is a whole lot of politics and not so much of governing, and whether or not taking away essential services like SNAP and WIC comes close to really taking away one's human rights. I believe it is one's right to eat. Thank you. God bless you. I will see you next time. I am Mami. This is Independent Voice. God bless America and God bless our world.